Welcome back to 5 Acres Honey Farm. I'm Tara Lynn, and I'm going to be checking very quickly on one of my hives. Right now the nectar flow has started, so all the tulip poplar are open, and I'm located here in Pittsboro, North Carolina. And if you're new here or just new to the geography of North Carolina, I am located a little bit south of Chapel Hill and a little bit west of Raleigh. So this is considered the Piedmont area of North Carolina, so it's not really by the coast and it's not really in the mountains. And the main source of nectar for this region is the tulip poplar. And we're past the maple, several weeks past the maple, and now we're going into this really big flow. So I added a box to the hive a few days ago, and now I'm just going to quickly check on that box to see if they need another one, because during this time when the flow is running, it's fairly common to have to add a new box every week. And I added a box of completely drawn comb for them to fill out, so they should do that fairly quickly. And then my next step would be those boxes behind me. I've got some frames with just wax foundation, so this will be a great opportunity when they're in this season for them to build out some fresh comb. So I'll be able to kind of checkerboard some frames of foundation with fully drawn out frames, so that will give them some space to start storing and at the same time to start building out. So I am going to head out there, and hopefully my bee gloves won't deter my recording. So we'll just keep our little hive tools crossed here for the next few moments. Actually, before we head outside, I'll just introduce you to a few of these quail chicks. I think there's one hiding. Oh no, I thought there was one hiding in the corner, but these quail hatched 2 weeks ago, yesterday. So they're 2 weeks and a day old. And I had a really low hatch rate. So I have some other videos about quail, and I'll link to that playlist in the description if you're interested in them. I only had 5 hatch out of 15 eggs, and these were the very first eggs of the season. So where I'm located here, my quail don't receive any artificial light for the winter, so they stop laying in September, right around the autumnal equinox, and then they start laying the week of the spring equinox. So I grabbed the first eggs, got the incubator set up because I knew we were going to be home for a while, and it's much better to be home when they're in the brooder like this and be able to keep an eye on their food and water and their bedding. So one of the chicks did not make it, and there's another one who's hiding under there who I've had this happen before where like they're running around, and there's this one here where they're running around and they just like cheep in like this painful noise, and then like something happens to their leg. So usually it's when they're teeny tiny and I'm able to correct their leg. So splayed leg is something that commonly happens with quail. But this particular injury happened when it was like a week old, and it's having a really hard time getting around. So I imagine I'm going to have to dispatch that chick before, I mean, I could do it right now, but they're having a great time together. They're in here for another week, and then they're going out. So I'm just letting them all hang out for the time being. I'm getting the smoker ready preemptively because this hive is a little cranky usually, and I don't want to have any issues. It is just a gorgeous day today. If you're new to beekeeping in North Carolina, if you're getting your certified beekeeper designation, you need to light a smoker and leave it, and it has to stay lit for 30 minutes. So it's a really great skill to learn. I always like to check the entrance first just to make sure everything looks normal. I'm seeing pollen coming in. You can also see I'm using that new beetle guard entrance reducer on this hive. I saw 3 small hive beetles the last time I checked on this hive, so I put that reducer guard on right away. This is the little quote-unquote nuke that I set up. It's just one medium, and not much activity here, but that's what's expected as they're just making their new queen. Random dead bee, not a big deal. I wasn't planning on taking a look inside the nuke, but I'm just curious because it was a little chilly last night. So I'm just gonna take a peek in, make sure they look good. And they do. Looks like some more workers have emerged since I last checked on them because they're covering more frames. And I'm not gonna move anything around and disturb them. There's one queen cell in there and it should be capped by now. So looks great. I'm really glad that I used the smoker before opening this because they are just as active as I was expecting them and definitely not cranky with the smoke. So you can see there's a ton of coverage up here. And this box I only put on about 4 days ago. And seeing all that coverage, and it smells amazing. Just gonna give them a little bit more smoke before I get this set up to check the frames. But based on the smell and the coverage, I'm expecting this to be fairly significantly full at this point. Just as I expected, they're doing a great job in getting the nectar stored. They don't have it as full as I was expecting. Like I thought this would be like 3/4 of the way, but they're halfway there. So I am going to close this back up for now. I'm gonna head back inside and take a look at the equipment that I have and decide what the next steps will be. And I like to close this one slower because this particular inner cover sits more flush than my other ones, and I don't like to squish any little bees. So they look pretty good. I'm very happy with that hive inspection. I decided since I'm gonna just check the forecast in a minute to see, but since it's Tuesday and I gave them that new box on Friday, it rained on Saturday, so they've really had Friday, Sunday, Monday, and then half of today to fill that up, and they're already halfway through. So I imagine by this Friday, if the forecast looks favorable, they'll probably have that box full. So I know I've got some time at lunch on Thursday and Friday, so if the weather works out on one of those lunch breaks, I'll be able to drop a new box on. So what I'm doing is I'm getting that box ready so that all I'll need to do on that lunch break is open the top, put this new box on, and let them hang out there. Sometimes if you're adding a new box, it's beneficial to add a frame of nectar right here in the center, and that kind of helps them move up. At this time of the year when the flow is on, I'm not really too concerned about that. Also, I'm just realizing I'm still wearing my veil and my gloves and I'm in the house, so I really don't need to be doing that. But I wanted to show you this. I guess it actually makes sense because I don't like getting all the propolis on my hands, so it is good that I forgot to take the gloves off and stuff. So what I'm doing here, and I might flip this around, but I think you can see fairly well, is I've got those frames with foundation. I also have some frames that when I extracted last year or the year before, I'm not sure, these are from 2020, but I'm not sure which year I had extracted them from, that they kind of exploded in the extractor. So this is a perfect time of year for the bees to fix those up, and they'll just fill those out really, really great. Like you won't even know that they looked like this at any point. So what I'm gonna do is get that set up, and so by checkerboard, I mean I'm going to have some fully drawn out frames, and I'm just gonna grab them because I've got shelves and shelves of them here behind me. So regular drawn out frame, and the idea here is that they can build out those foundation frames right in line with the kind of like the model frame that's there. So they're gonna build them out anyway, just to fill in that space. But this kind of helps them have a little bit of space to keep storing while they build. And once I get all these frames set up, I'm going to label them. So yes, this frame was from 2018 originally, but that comb had fallen out, and so now this frame is going to be from 2023 because it'll be fresh comb in there. So I'm going to relabel these so that they're all appropriately done, so I don't have to deal with that when there's bees climbing over it and all that stuff. And yeah, so that was all great. So curious if you're seeing the same activity in your hives, in your area. What kind of nectar flow are you seeing? I am going to be checking the mountain hive soon. I left them with some extra space, but I'm concerned that things might have started opening up out there and they won't have enough room. So I will learn soon, and I'll post an update about them as well, because what I learned with my first year with the bees out there last year is that there's a very early heavy flow, then a really heavy flow, then the sourwood, and then another flow. It was just like 4 huge waves. I actually I stopped selling honey from the hives from last year, and I did another winter extraction, which I'm keeping for myself, because I had totally sold out of everything from last year and used up my own little supply. So I'm still bottling from that. It's just never ending, which is crazy. We'll see what happens, but please keep me posted and hope your bees are doing well.